Journey. The acid rain of Calera 6 struck the rusted metal roof like angry fingernails, creating a symphony of metallic pings that Damon Vance had grown to find comforting. He sat hunched over his workbench, the harsh blue light of his arc welder reflecting off the sweat on his brow as he carefully fused another component to his synthetic arm. Damn power coupling, he muttered, adjusting the neural interface with precision that belied his large, rough hands. The arm, a patchwork of salvage, Militara tech and black market components, hung limp as he worked, connected to his shoulder by a lattice of glowing blue veins and carbon fiber tendons. Outside, called his notorious scavenger district, descended into its nightly chaos. The border planet served as a nexus of those who existed between worlds, laws, and identities. Its black markets thrived under protection of corrupt officials, and its ancient ruins attracted treasure hunters and archaeologists alike, those with credentials and those with guns. But none ventured near Damon's compound at the edge of the district. Not anymore. Through the grimy viewport of his shelter, the purple-tinged lightning illuminated the twisted skeleton of A, Federation cruiser half buried in the rusty soil. The wreckage cast long shadows, creating the illusion of movement where there was none. Damon glanced up, his gray eyes narrow and vigilant. Rumors about him had spread through the district like a virus. Some said he was a former military operative gone rogue. Others claimed he dealt in forbidden tech. The smartest ones whispered that those who crossed Damon Vance had a habit of disappearing, completely, permanently, without a trace. None of the rumors were entirely wrong. The meteorite alert blared, interrupting his work. Damon checked the atmospheric scanner as it tracked incoming debris from the planet's shattered moon. The display showed a larger object than usual, something dense, metallic, and moving too deliberately for random space. Rock. Interesting, he said, rising from his workbench, his synthetic arm activated with a low hum as neural commands flowed through the newly repaired circuits. He grabbed his heavily modified pulse rifle and the atmospheric mask hanging by the door before stepping into the toxic rain. The object crashed 3 kilometers north near the ancient ruins the locals called the Whispering Tombs. Damon's hover cycle cut through the rain like a phantom, leaving a trail of disturbed droplets in its wake. As he approached the impact site, his scanner picked up an energy signature that didn't match any known meteorite composition. The crater glowed with an unnearly blue-violet light. At its center lay not rock, but a sleek containment pod, its surface etched with symbols Damon hadn't seen in 15 years. Leona ran script. His heart rate spiked, but his expression remained impassive. He dismounted the hover cycle and approached the pod cautiously, pulse rifle raised. The pod's exterior was scorched from atmospheric entry, but its integrity remained intact mostly. A fracture ran along one side, leaking a luminescent mist that hissed when it made contact with the acidic puddles. Damon knelt beside the pod, wiping condensation from his transparent section with his human hand. His breath caught in his throat. Inside was a woman. No, not just any woman. Her skin was the color of twilight, a deep violet with subtle iridescence that shifted with each shallow breath she took. Her features were delicate yet strong, with high cheekbones and full lips pressed into a grimace of pain. Silver white hair framed her face like a halo floating in the suspension fluid that half filled the damaged pod. But it was the collar around her neck that froze his blood, a band of what appeared to be living metal pulsing with inner light wrapped around her throat like a serpent. Its surface rippled with symbols similar to those on the pod, containment glyphs, warning sigils, and power dampeners. Damon knew exactly who he was looking at. The knowledge was a weight in his chest, heavy with memory and guilt. Petra, he whispered, the name both familiar and foreign on his tongue. The last of the Leonarans, a race that had mastered the quantum phenomenon known as resonance, the ability to manipulate reality through precisely controlled energy frequencies, a civilization that had been systematically eradicated 15 years ago. In what official Federation records called containment action, what Damon called genocide, the woman's eyes fluttered open at the sound of her name, revealing irises of liquid silver that seemed to capture and reflect the lightning above. Her gaze was unfocused, confused. She didn't recognize him. Damon holstered his weapon and worked quickly to stabilize the pod's life support systems. The diagnostic scan revealed multiple system failures, oxygen recyclers damaged, temperature regulators offline, nutrient delivery compromised. She wouldn't survive another hour inside. With practice efficiency, he overrode the pod security locks and released the hermetic seal. Suspension fluid spilled onto the muddy ground, sizzling as it neutralized the acid rain. He lifted her from the pod with gentle strength, cradling her against his chest. Her skin felt unnaturally cold and dark bruises circled her wrists where restraints had been. Her body was strewn with both dried blood and a substance that glittered, like pulverized stars. Resonance dust, the physical manifestation of quantum, energy used by her people. Kavish Noru, she murmured, her voice shifting between recognizable galactic standard and something ancient and musical. The stars will remember when you do. Not. Don't try to talk, Damon said, carrying her to his hover cycle. You're safe now. A lie, perhaps. No one was truly safe on Calera 6. And certainly not with him. The woman drifted in and out of consciousness during the journey back to his compound. Each time her eyes opened, they seemed more alert, more aware, and more afraid. Inside his shelter, Damon laid her on his narrow cot and began treating her wounds. The bruises around her wrists were severe, suggesting long-term restraint. Smaller injuries covered her body, but none appeared life-threatening. It was the collar that concerned him most. The device pulsed in rhythm with her, heartbeat growing brighter when she stirred. Up close, Damon could see that it wasn't merely attached to her skin. It had partially fused with it. Tendrils of metal woven into the tissue of her throat like roots. Slave collar, he muttered with disgust. Who did this to you? Her eyes snapped fully open at his words, focusing on him with sudden clarity. Not slave, she rasped in. Galactic standard. Seal. Damon frowned. So, she tried to sit up, but fell back with a grimace of pain. The resonance, she whispered, must contain. Understanding dawned slowly like a cold sun rising over a barren landscape. The collar wasn't restrained to control her movements. It was a dampener, a seal to contain the power that flowed through her veins, but she was injured, suffering, and the collar was clearly causing her pain. Hold still, Damon said, retrieving a scanner from his workbench. Let me see how this thing works. The device revealed what his eyes couldn't. The collar's internal structure consisted of quantum lock particles arranged in a configuration that created a closed energy loop. It fed off her own bioelectric field, while simultaneously suppressing the larger energy signature that emanated from her core, elegant and cruel in its design. I can remove it, he said, meeting her silver gaze. Terror flashed across her features. No, she grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Dangerous. Damon gently pried her fingers loose. I've handled dangers before. He gestured to the scars that mapped his face and the synthetic arm that gleamed in the low light. The collar is killing you. Your body is fighting it and you're losing. She stared at him, conflict evident in her expression. You don't understand what I am. I understand more than you. Think, he replied quietly. Her eyes widened slightly. You know me? Eh? Loaded question. Damon chose his words carefully. I know your people. I know what was done to them. Pain that had nothing to do with physical wounds flashed across her face. She turned away, silver tears gathering at the corners of her eyes. Then you know why. The seal must remain. What I know, Damon said firmly, is that you're the last of the Leonarans, and you're dying because of that thing around your neck. He reached for his tools selection, a precision laser cutter and a quantum destabilizer. The choice is yours, but make it knowing that without intervention, you'll be dead before Calthera's third moon rises. She was silent for a long moment, her chest rising and falling with labored breaths. Finally, she closed her eyes in resignation. If you remove it, be prepared for what? Her silver eyes opened again, filled with a mixture of fear and something darker. For what comes after? Damon nodded once and set. To work. The collar's intricate locking mechanism resisted conventional tools, but the quantum destabilizer gradually disrupted its atomic bonds. As he worked, he felt her watching him, studying his face as if searching for something. "Why?" she asked suddenly. "Why help me? You know what I am, what my kind can do." Damon's hands remained, steady as he carefully severed another connection. "Because your eyes look like they used to believe in something." She blinked in surprise, then gave a small, sad smile. "Once. Yes." The final bond broke with a sound like crystal shattering. The collar separated into two halves, revealing angry red skin. Beneath, for a moment, nothing happened. Then the air in the room began to vibrate. Damon stepped back as a wave of energy radiated from Petra's body. Her back arched, and she gasped in what could have been agony or ecstasy. The lights in the compound flickered and died. Equipment shorted out in cascading sparks. Outside, the rain suddenly stopped, droplets hanging suspended in midair as if time itself hesitated. Through the viewport, Damon watched in awe as the sky above Calera 6 transformed. The perpetual storm clouds parted to reveal a cosmos bleeding. Crimson, stars pulsing with unnatural light, nebulae contracting like massive lungs, the very fabric of space rippling like disturbed water. The resonance was awakening, and somewhere across the galaxy, ancient systems designed to detect such power surged to life. Warning beacons activated on derelict monitoring stations. AI sentinels stirred from dormancy, and aboard the Sanctum, the fortress ship of the Galactic Inquisition, cold eyes narrowed as alerts flashed across holographic displays. High Inquisitor Rari turned to her lieutenant. Set course for Calera 6, she ordered, her voice like steel. Against stone. The resonance has been detected. The containment failed? The lieutenant asked, fear evident beneath his professional demeanor. No, Rari replied, studying the energy readings with clinical detachment. Someone removed it. Back in Damon's compound, the energy wave subsided. Petra lay motionless on the cot, her breathing steady now, her skin glowing with subtle inner light. The bruises on her wrist had vanished, and the wounds that marked her body had closed, leaving not even scars. Damon rebooted his systems and assessed the damage, minimal, considering the power that had just been unleashed. When he turned back to Petra, she was watching him with new awareness, as if seeing him for the first time. "You're still here," she observed, surprise evident in her melodic voice. "Did you expect me to run?" he asked, raising an eyebrow. "Most would." She sat up cautiously, touching her neck where the collar had been. "Most should." Damon shrugged and turned to A, storage unit that had survived the energy surge. He pulled out a thermal blanket and tossed it to her with casual irreverence that belied the gravity of the situation. "I'm not most people," he said simply, then gestured to a food synthesizer that was sputtering back to life. "Hungry?" Petra wrapped the blanket around her shoulders, studying him with that penetrating silver gaze. "Why did you help me?" she asked again, clearly unsatisfied with his earlier answer. Damon met her eyes without flinching. "Because your eyes look like they used to believe in something." He paused, then added quietly, "And maybe I need to believe in something, too." Outside, the suspended raindrops finally fell, hitting the roof in a sudden deluge. But above the storm clouds, the sky remained blood-red, a cosmic wound that would not easily heal. The resonance had been unleashed, and the universe had begun to notice. 3 days after Damon removed the collar, A dead plant sprouted in his compound. The withered succulent, a resilient calder thorn bush that had perished months ago, suddenly erupted, with vibrant purple flowers that emitted a faint humming sound when touched. Damon stared at it for a full minute before looking toward the makeshift sleeping quarters where Petra rested. "That's new," he muttered, probing one of the flowers with a calibration tool. The instrument's reading spiked off the scale. For 72 hours, reality around his compound had become increasingly flexible. Gravity fluctuated in unpredictable patterns. Tools hovered momentarily before crashing down. Water, droplets from his leaking coolant system, occasionally flowed upward. Electronic systems malfunctioned in ways that defied technical explanation. His synthetic arm sometimes operated with enhanced capabilities, as if drawing power from an unseen source. Petra's recovery had been astonishingly swift. The physical wounds had vanished within hours of removing the collar, but her consciousness seemed to drift between worlds, her silver eyes often focusing on things Damon couldn't see. He approached her sleeping form cautiously. She had wrapped herself in a thermal blanket salvaged from a Federation emergency kit, her violet skin contrasting sharply with the metallic material. Her white hair split across the pillow like solar flares. "You're making my plants resurrect," Damon said, when her eyes fluttered open. "Impressive trick." Petra sat up abruptly, disorientation giving way to alarm. "What?" He gestured toward the thorn bush. "Dead for months. Now it's staging a comeback." She stared at the plant, her expression shifting from confusion to dismay. "The resonance is leaking." She pressed her palms against her temples. "I can't contain it all." "Not yet." "Is that dangerous?" Damon asked, his tone deliberately casual despite the tension coiling in his chest. "Plans today, reality tomorrow." Her silver eyes met his. "My people called it resonant overflow. The power builds until it finds outlets." She hesitated. "It will get worse before I regain control." Damon nodded, processing this information with outward calm. "So we might have floating furniture or spontaneous weather or dimensional rifts, temporal distortions." She looked away. "My sister once lost control and accidentally reversed time. In a 3 kilometers radius, 87 people relived the same 3 minutes for what felt like weeks.